there's so much out there in society that women should be a certain way or should look a certain way or act a certain way. And, who says, who wrote those rules? I don't know who it was, so it's creating your own definition and creating your own authentic life, however that looks. And whatever anybody else thinks really doesn't matter. What matters is what you think.
This is the Energy Within podcast, all about accessing, nurturing, and building your energy and confidence so that you can design your life the way you want. My name is Carrie Jokala. I am your host. I am a Reiki practitioner, a fitness instructor, a wife, a mom to 2 little boys. And before I tell you who is my guest on this podcast, you're probably wondering why I probably don't sound like I have a lot of energy at this moment and why I'm talking kind of quietly. It's because I don't want to say I messed up. I didn't mess up. I just didn't follow my normal protocol. Every time I do an interview, I complete the interview, the person leaves, and I immediately record my outro and then my intro so that all I have to do later is just go back and edit. And plus it's fresh in my mind, so it's easier for me to summarize what the interview was all about. And I'm not really sure why I didn't this time, but this happened to be the time that I didn't. And it's now, at the present time that I'm recording this, it is 11:26 p.m. I'm all done editing everything else, and I got to the end and went, oh, this is the one where I still need to record my intro and outro. So I'm just trying to be somewhat quiet so that I don't wake anyone else, because everybody else is asleep. And if you're a mom, you know that struggle. So anyway, that's why I don't sound very energy filled right now compared to usual, and I'm talking quietly. So today's interview is with Sandy Bartlett, and she is an intrinsic mindset coach and calls herself a confidence practitioner. I love that phrase, confidence practitioner. So I asked her a little bit about that and why she chose that title. So you'll hear what she means by that. And I think it's just a perfect explanation. I always still love talking about confidence because energy is a pathway to confidence. The more energy you have, the more confidence you can have, and vice versa. So I still think it's an important conversation to have and points to review. And I love the way that Sandy tackles the confidence issue by talking about how we all have an inner badass. So I won't ramble on for too much longer. I will let Sandy do all of the talking. Oh, and I do have to give you a short apology. For some reason, during the interview, just when I talk, there's a little bit of a low buzzing noise that I did not realize was there when we recorded. And normally I catch that kind of stuff, so I do sincerely apologize. I hope it's not too distracting. Fortunately, it is not there when Sandy is talking, so you won't hear that during all of the important parts of her conversation because this is about her and what she has to say. So I hope you can look past the buzzing under me, focus on Sandy. You'll enjoy this one. Here we go. Well, Sandy, I'm so excited to have you here. This is going to be a perfect topic, I think, for us to cover.
I'm glad to be here. I'm excited.
So why don't you take the lead and tell everyone what you do, what your title is, all that good stuff.
Well, I'm Sandy Bartlett. I am an intrinsic mindset coach and a confidence practitioner and a women's empowerment coach. So I work with women to help them work on their confidence, to help them find their voice. My signature program is Embody Your Inner Badass. And badass is actually an acronym for beliefs, authenticity, dare to design, ambitious action, speak up and speak out, and success. And I offer a 90-day coaching program that we go through all of those items to help women feel more confident in their own skin, to use their voice confidently.
I love that so much. Confidence is a huge topic for me, and that's actually how this podcast started. It used to be called Rockstar Confidence, and that's still an end goal through everything that I talk about here. But I just, we had to, a little rebranding, but confidence is still a very big part of it. That's been one of my biggest struggles as I was growing up and even into my early adult years. And I still have slips. I think we all do. I like to describe confidence as a fluid journey. Like, I don't think there's an end goal necessarily where you're ever going to hit a level where you're 100% confident all the time, no matter what. So I guess let's start with your definition of confidence. And I like the fact too, I don't mean to go off on too many tangents before I let you jump in, but I like the confidence practitioner. Let's start with that. How did you decide on confidence practitioner?
To me, confidence is a constant practice. I mean, I fully agree with your definition of it's fluid. It's situational too. Mm-hmm. I, like you, growing up, I was the wallflower, shy, and, I've really worked hard at trying to come out of my shell. And, I've worked my way up the corporate ladder, and I can stand in front of a group and train and do a presentation and all that. But you put me in a social situation and I clam up, and I'm working at that. So it's a constant work in progress. That's why I say it's situational. So that's why I really liked the word confidence practitioner, because I'm constantly practicing and learning and developing, my practice of confidence. And it very much is situational. But it's also about recognizing how you're perceived too. I've had situations where, in a work setting where I had my boss walk into my office one day and say that I was, that a couple of people had walked by me in the hallway and said hello, and I ignored them. And I'm like, what?
Oh, geez.
Like, that is so not who I am. And it was one of those things where it's like, it was a couple of gals and they walked, and I was fairly new, I think, in the organization. But what I had to learn about myself, when I walk out of my office, I'm very driven and I'm on a mission. I got to go somewhere and I'm concentrating. I would never intentionally be rude to somebody or ignore them. And I still to this day have no idea who it was or what the situation was. But from that point on, I made it a point when I left my office, make eye contact with people, say hello. And, because I had to realize how others perceived me.
Yeah.
And that plays a lot into all of us, how we're perceived by others. And you may not like it, but you have to recognize it, and then, and work on that accordingly. And so he actually, when I asked him, well, do you have any suggestions? He didn't have any suggestions other than to, when I got to work each day, maybe, sit in the car and decide which Sandy was coming to work that day.
Oh,
and I was
okay.
like, what? So, and I know what he intended. It's not necessarily how it came across. And it still haunts me to this day. And so because of that, I'm constantly working on me and working on, my outer persona.
Right.
And because I'm very much an introvert.
Me too.
But I'm constantly, working on that. So that's where I came up with confidence practitioner, because we're practicing.
I love that.
And so
I think that's perfect. So. Yeah. And in relation to your story, I would almost venture to say that it kind of goes both ways though. Like, absolutely. I'm all about, and I talk about that a lot, about you get to decide what version of you put out, like from a certain perspective, and up to a certain point, you're in control of how people are going to perceive you, because you can make that choice of what you're projecting. It's up to the other person then, obviously, how they take it, but how you start with it is up to you. But then on the flip side of that, other people learning not to take things personally, because exactly what you said, you don't know what's going through the other person's mind. It's not anything to do with them. They're on a mission,
Right, exactly.
There's something else going on that wouldn't at all relate to that person. So I think it's always a two-way street too, to to be honest.
Completely, but we don't always think about the other person.
Right.
And I'm getting better, at that. And I found myself more and more thinking about when somebody reacts a certain way, I start thinking about, well, I wonder what's going on with that person, and looking at, the different, a different intention, or what was the positive intention behind, what they said or did, that they're not necessarily realizing. And it's more about how I'm taking it.
Right.
And it's, more on me than on them, and vice versa,
Right.
when there's any kind of interaction.
Do the women that you tend to work with tend to be introverts like you are, like I am?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I mean, I think probably more. I would say probably more introverted than most. I think most women that are more outgoing and appear to have confidence. Again, I think it's a perception thing,
Right.
because there are women out there, they might be extroverted, but that doesn't mean necessarily that they don't have an issue,
Right.
with confidence. And it could be in different things. I mean, I have a group on Facebook, Mindful Confidence for Women. And when they join, I ask questions, what brought them there, or what do they struggle with in confidence? And it is all over the map. Everything from, worrying about what other people think of them, or how other people are going to react to them, to the whole body confidence issue, their weight, their looks, and, and that type of thing. I mean, there are so many different buckets, of confidence, that women struggle with. And some are very outgoing, but they still have, those struggles in a
Right.
variety of areas.
Yeah. And probably situational, just like you were saying. And I know I have
Agreed.
that too, where I like being the center of attention. I like being in the spotlight, being up on stage, or, teaching a group exercise class or something like that. But you get me one-on-one and I'm going to be a little more, not reserved, but not the same exactly as you saw me on stage.
Definitely. Completely agree. I've done the same thing. And I think also, even like at work, because I have to be, I'm a director of human resources at my day job. And so, people expect that. But even sometimes in those situations, I'm probably can stay back, a little bit. I'm not necessarily the same, but and I'm constantly working on it. Like I said, we're all a work in progress.
Right.
So
I've had people say to me before, like, oh, you must be so much fun to go out with. I'm like, actually, I'm pretty boring. I'd rather stay home.
yep. Me too.
I want to talk a little bit about the intrinsic mindset coach side of it. So, how does that play into it? Where do you recommend people start when they're trying to work on their mindsets?
Really, it's starting with what's your beliefs. We all have belief systems and those started when we were children, growing up. That's where, I mean, your beliefs actually are instilled in you by the time you're 3 years old. And our experiences is what creates that. And so it becomes, it's not so much the experience, but what's the meaning behind that experience. What we had this experience as a child, as a baby, as a toddler, and it's what's the meaning that we placed on that. So working with women, and it's that inner work. What's that limiting belief, that came out of that? So it's helping them discover what, first of all, what do they believe about themselves, and then looking back at where did that come from, and then helping them reframe that, into something that changes that limiting belief to help them move forward.
I think it's really empowering to know too that we can change those beliefs, because I think sometimes people get stuck and think, well, those are just my beliefs. That's just how it is. And that's the end of it. But our brains are we have that neuroplasticity factor, where we can rewire pathways and change them and just alter the way that we're thinking to the way we want to think.
Exactly. And it's in my coaching program that we went through, they refer to it as your critter brain. And which I think it's kind of a fun term, but it's our brain it works to help protect us, in situations. And so, and there's different ways to do that. But, and again, it's, the belief doesn't necessarily, or the experience doesn't change, but it's the meaning we attach
Right.
to that experience that changes that. And that's what can help you change the belief to be, not as limiting.
Yeah. And all right, so let's move into this embody your inner badass topic, because I really like that. Does it take women a while, you think, to realize that they have an inner badass and that's something that can come out of them? Or, how does that get developed?
Everybody's different, everybody's individual. I think it depends on how deep rooted those insecurities are and, what it's related to. So it's going to depend. But what I actually do is I actually lead them through a guided meditation where they actually meet their inner badass.
Nice.
And so they get to know who that is and connect with her. And it's the women that have done it. I mean, the feedback I've gotten has been, they tell me how empowering it is, to see her, in their mind's eye, and to, connect with her qualities and her values and realize that that's really them. So it's I think that's the part that's, empowering, because it's really up to them, but realizing that it's them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then continuing to work with them to connect with her in situations. I was recently working with a client, and when, when she met her, her inner badass, and afterwards, and she was talking about, how empowering it was. And my action steps for her that week were just to, in the situations that came up during the week, was to connect with that inner badass and ask herself, well, what would my inner badass do?
Yeah.
In this situation that would help her move forward.
Should get some bracelets that say that.
I actually have them.
Do you?
I do.
All right, then. You're way ahead of me.
I do.
That's perfect. So the acronym that you listed out, is that kind of a roadmap exactly as it's laid out, or do you kind of jump around between what each of those things are? How does that work?
It's kind of a roadmap, but it's fluid enough that depending on what comes up for the client, at any given week, because it's, weekly one-on-one sessions. So, going through different things, but it's not so unflexible that if, something else comes up, because we're going to work on what is going on with that client, that week, but helping them, identifying, coming up with and identifying their limiting beliefs and helping them reframe those, and then helping them become their authentic self, daring to design the life or career, whatever their focus is,
Yeah.
Of their dreams, and then taking ambitious action. And there's enough flexibility in the program to be able to, move. And if we don't go in that order, we don't go in that order. You have to be,
Right.
That's part of coaching, is
Yeah.
being flexible, to be able to address whatever's going on with the client at that time.
And I liked when we were talking before we officially started the interview, how you said, the inner badass is whatever it means for each individual person. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, one of the things that I ask, at the start with any client is, well, what does being a badass mean to you? Because when you see it, whether in a marketing promo or whatever it is, and you see that, and you're thinking, well, embody my inner badass. I mean, what does that mean? And it's what's the visual picture that comes up? And you and I joked about the fact that, well, it's not necessarily the biker chick on a motorcycle that might come to mind. So it's whatever it means to that individual woman, whether it means whether you're the soccer mom or the corporate woman or whatever it is, whatever it means to you to be, that confident, badass woman that's inside of you. It's what you make of it.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's so important to realize, like, that we don't have to hold ourselves to somebody else's standard of what that's supposed to mean or supposed to look like. We need to get those ideas out of our head and realize that, other people will view us as that badass when we are being authentic and we're being ourselves and we're in tune with what that definition is to us and what that looks like for us.
Exactly. I think there's so much out there in society that women should be a certain way or should look a certain way or act a certain way. And, who says, who wrote those rules? I don't know who it was, so it's creating your own definition and creating your own authentic life, however that looks. And whatever anybody else thinks really doesn't matter. What matters is what you think.
Yep. If we look at the body confidence aspect of it and how we're supposed to look and present ourselves, I like going to the quote about some of the models coming out and saying, well, they look at their own pictures and say, wow, I wish I looked like that, because it's not even them. They realize that's not what I look like in daily life. That's a ton of makeup and lighting and Photoshop and whatever, angles. It all makes a difference. And it's like, I don't look like that in real life. Yeah, I wish I looked like her too.
Agreed. And, it's funny. I mean, I'm going to be 65 in June. And,
you lie.
And I'm not, I don't, I am. But it's funny because, I read things and, women over 50 or whatever shouldn't wear this type of makeup. I'm like, who says, wear what makes you feel good.
Right.
And even talking about models, I mean, we've put it out there that, women need to look a certain way or weigh a certain amount or whatever. I mean, I have a husband that likes my curves. And so, there are men out there that do like curves.
Right.
And he sees, these models and he's like, she's way too skinny.
Yeah.
So, it's, we don't have to fit into society's mold. We fit into our own mold.
Right. So obviously there's a reason behind why the second A is ambitious action. So can we dig in a little bit to maybe the difference between ambitious action and just action?
Again, it can be whatever you make of it, but the reason I chose ambitious action is because I feel that it really helps. We're talking about confidence here. And so, go, it's kind of the go big or go home, be bold, be audacious, be proud of who you are and take that action. And, and even if it's a little step, one of the sayings they talk about in my coaching was small hinges swing big doors. And so you look at a door and there's these tiny little hinges that hold it, but it's this, thing. And it's the same thing with action. If it's ambitious action, but it can be in tiny steps, as long as you're moving forward, have that big audacious goal. And doesn't mean you have to go from A to Z in one fell swoop. You can do A, B, go through all letters of the alphabet and finally get to Z.
Yeah.
You're going to have the same result. So don't limit yourself to something small, go big. And so that's kind of my thought behind the whole ambitious action.
I like it.
Be as glorious and audacious and big and hairy goal as you can, and then we'll work on, those actions to move you forward.
Going back to the idea of confidence being fluid and being a journey, what advice do you normally have for people when they have those dips in confidence? Like how to handle them, how to get out of them?
Oh, I know those so well. We all have those moments where we, beat ourselves up. The trick is don't stay there.
Yeah.
I tell people, don't compare and despair, because it's everybody has a different journey. Everybody has a different reaction. Everybody, you might go down the same path, but maybe you're taking little jogs along the way. You're still gonna get there. But the trick is, or the tip is, not to stay there, to, accept it for what it is. What I tell my clients is, okay, let's get curious about what happened. be curious about it, whether you're journaling about it, whatever, but get curious. One of the things I say to the ladies in my group is, that group, it's all about curiosity. It's no judgment, just curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, get curious about why, something happened or why you're feeling that way. And then move on, kind of accept it and move on. I'm a big believer in affirmations. And
Yes.
my husband and I joke all the time because, and we have ever since we met, that, like my glass is always half full, his sometimes can be half empty.
Mm-hmm.
But, and so we joke about that, but I choose to see the glass half full. I choose to look at life through rose-colored glasses, and I mean, it may seem kind of pie in the sky, but I choose to look at things more positively, and not dwell on it, because you can't change it. I'll give you an example. When years ago, and it was a prior marriage, we actually had a house that burned twice.
Oh,
Same
no.
house burned twice, 4 years apart.
Oh my God.
And I remember, my mom was still alive then, and I remember her saying to somebody that I was handling it too well. Like,
What?
and I thought, well, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? What is it going to do for me to, fall into a puddle on the floor crying about something that I can't change?
Right.
It happened, I can't make it go away. I can't change what happened. All I can do is change how I reacted to it.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
so, I, I went about my life. I went about my day-to-day business.
Right.
I still went to work. I did everything. I chose not to wallow in it because I couldn't change it. So, I mean, I tell people, even at work, in my HR role, the only thing you can control is your reaction to things.
Yes. Yep.
And so, so it's kind of the same thing with those dips, in confidence. The only thing I can control is how I react to it. So I can have my moment with my pity party or whatever I decide to do.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as I don't stay there, and I recognize it for what it is, and then accept it, realize it, get curious about it, and then move forward.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be perfect, every step of the way. And nobody should expect to be perfect, and nobody should have that expectation of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's a big difference between
Mm-hmm.
accepting what's happened and choosing to move on, and pretending that everything's okay when it's not,
Right. Agreed. Definitely.
I think that's another like societal perception that I think needs to be broken. This idea of other people having expectations about how other people should react to something. We go back to what you were saying about how it's a choice.
Right.
It's always a choice. So let go and
Right.
stop caring about what other people are telling you should be doing or how you should be acting. What makes sense for you, what's helping you, and ideally you're choosing the more positive aspect of it, acknowledging, like you said, what's happened and dealing with it how you need to, but then making the choice not to stay there.
Right. You can be an Eeyore or you can be a Tigger. You have a choice.
Tigger's so much fun. More fun
It
than,
is.
I mean, nothing against Eeyore. He's cute and all, but
He is.
I like that. I like that a lot.
But you don't have to live there.
Right. So I've really enjoyed this conversation. I think it's been a very important one to have on the podcast. So thank you for being here to talk about all this with me. Would you let everyone know where they can find you, how they can work with you?
Happy to. Well, there's multiple ways. So one is on Facebook. My group is Mindful Confidence for Women. Just do a search for that, and you can find me there and join the group. I have a website, and that website is just www.thesandybartlett.com. and Sandy is spelled with a Y. So it's the TheSandy, Bartlett, like the pear, Bartlett.com. And on that website, there is a link to be able to reach out to me to schedule a badass breakthrough session with me if you'd
I
like.
love that.
And also my Instagram is on my website as well. And I'm on Instagram at the Sandy Bartlett.
Awesome.
Those are the best ways to find me.
And Sandy, not Shandy. Awesome.
But I'll answer to either.
Right. Whatever you want to call me, it's fine. Well, thank you again so much, Sandy. I've really enjoyed this.
Me too. Thank you so much.
As always, that was a really fun conversation. And I hope that you were able to get a lot out of this interview with Sandy. I always enjoy talking about confidence and what it takes to find that confidence within you, to grow that confidence, and to live your life in a way that truly embodies who you really are. Being able to be your authentic self, not being afraid to be who you are. If you feel so called and you are ready to embody your inner badass, I highly encourage you to reach out to Sandy, connect with her in the Facebook group, or simply reach out to her for that badass consult. I just love the way all that sounds. It's so perfect. Of course, I would love to also invite you to jump into my group, The Energy Within. You can find that on Facebook. All the links for everything for both me and Sandy will be in the show notes, so you can easily find all of it. In my group, The Energy Within, we do group Reiki, live card pulls. I randomly popped in there the other day to record a podcast live. And if you missed it, you'll still hear the podcast, which I intend to release on Friday, so just a couple days from now. I'm also doing a free spiked workout tonight at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, virtual, of course. And I would love to have you there. You always are able to jump into my virtual fitness studio for free by way of the free trial in the membership options. But tonight, I want everyone to just hop in and try this class for free. It is so much fun. It's cardio kickboxing. It's very similar to Turbo. So if you've ever tried Turbo Kick, Turbo Jam, Turbo Fire, you already kind of have a taste of what spiked is like. However, the structure of the workout is different, and it is so much fun. The music is awesome. The moves are fun. The energy is just amazing. And I really want you to come try it out. So if you hop into the Energy Within group, you will find the event there that gives you the link right away. I don't even need anything else from you. Just show up and have a good time. And then if you decide that you'd like to stick around, I can fill you in on how you can do that. If you want to just jump right in, you can find the link for the virtual fitness studio in the show notes. And of course, I invite you to do a virtual Reiki mini session with me. They are still only $25. And I would love to help you use that as a tool to start unlocking that inner badass. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it. Go ahead and take a screenshot, do a screen flow, share some audio, post it to your social media, tag me, tag Sandy. Let us know what resonated, what you liked. And of course, as always, let me know what you need more of. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.